Welcome to devlog number 7 of 8-BitBot. 1 week has passed and I worked entirely on one support feature, which is the text layout system. Let's have a look. This is the new element in town, the help button. It opens in help overlay and look, it's me again. It's of course still a work in progress, so it's not really done yet, but it already provides some helpful information on instructions, so let's find out what that does. Oh, it's an example level, and we can see what happens when the simulation runs. Oh no! Oh well, anyway, that feature should be useful for players to learn what each instruction does. It is all defined in a markdown text file, including the embedded simulation. So let's have another look for another example. Here you can see quotes, but of course that's not all. This page here explains another instruction, which is quite more complex. So we can see that there's a hyperlink which opens another page, and that page can in turn also explain other stuff. We can navigate this and it works like a browser, which is also available here, an integrated homepage browser. It might be a bit overkill and I have to see how useful it really is. It certainly adds a lot of translation content to the game, which is not ideal. You may wonder, how is this all implemented? Well, in case you're interested, here it is, a documentation on the documentation. So here's the basic syntax section, and as you can see, it reveals quite a bit of what I have worked on. Like there's a macro system that can help to create text blocks that repeat. And there's the level integration system. I think this is where it really shines. And it probably also explains why this was quite a bit of an effort, and it was almost everything I did over the last week. Now, to give you a rough idea how this is being done on a technical side, here's a boiled down overview. It starts with the document catalog system loading the files, and it's running macro replacements first. After the macro replacements, everything happens on the go when I'm calling UI text box with the text that should be rendered with the markdown. It does all the layouting and rendering of the markdown content. It can certainly be optimized by caching intermediate results and so on, but for now it works quite well enough. On the fundamental level, it works by calling several other functions. So this is the divide and conquer approach. The first step is to convert all the text, which can be UTF-8, or it is UTF-8 and contains Unicode characters. It converts it first to a code point list, which already contains the elements that describe what the character should be rendered like with colors and so on. It is a single list or a single line of text in one dimension only, and no markdown has been applied yet, which happens in the next step, where this fairly beefy function comes and parses the markdown syntax. It removes the markdown characters from the list and it applies all the formatting to affect the code points and how they should be rendered. At that point, it is still a single line, but with line breaks, and it still needs to be wrapped into multiple lines, which happens by the list wrap function here. It takes the list and it breaks it into multiple lines based on the available width, and it does some indentation retaining and some margin calculations. Everything for this kind of layouting happens there. At that step, we have not aligned anything yet, so it could be left or right aligned. This happens in the list align function here. And that function did not receive so much attention yet because that's not a feature I use so much, at least not for complex cases, so it's probably buggy. Now, before the doing the rendering step, I'm also doing some manipulations, like the text animation that happens here is being applied on that list level. And then it goes to the text print function. And this one is now getting just the coordinates, so it's relatively simple. it does what the instructions in the code point list say. Eventually it's not even a code point, it's the level that's supposed to be rendered, so that's how it works. And since the rendering code is only requiring a few parameters for the level rendering and it's memory allocation free, there's not much of an initialization going on. This can all be done in a fairly simple way. So just to make it clear, everything that is rendered here is rendered in an intermediate mode style. The UI, but also the level itself is being rendered like that. And that makes it all possible and relatively easy to reuse in such circumstances. All in all, I have to say I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out, even though this was quite a bit of work. And I believe this is setting me up well for adding the documentation in conjunction with the tutorials, which I also continue writing. Speaking of, the nice thing is that the tutorial system also uses the same text rendering code, so the speech bubbles can now contain also things like graphics, like the star here. And even level renderings in principle, yeah, that is broken. I think it's due to the alignment function not being cooperative here. But anyway, that's it for this devlog. Thanks for watching, see you next time, and remember to wishlist the game if you want to support me a little bit. See you!